All right, awesome. Well, Jackie, it's a pleasure having you today. My name is Gary Newman. I'm the Director of Strategic Accounts at Strategist, and with me is Jacqueline Tobacco, who is a political strategist for 43 Oak. And we're just going to chat today a little bit about the upcoming political election and, some watch outs for advertisers, both on both sides of the coin, both, political advertisers and general advertisers that, have to potentially get bumped or have to deal with the onslaught of political advertising. So let's go ahead and I guess dive right in. So one question that for us at Strategist, we work with different agencies and brands, and sometimes our agency partners like 43 Oak they hire a political strategist like you to come in. But what are the types of things that people need to be considering if they've never run political campaigns before?
I mean, it's a very big year, obviously, with the presidential election year. It's a With the events that happened this weekend, it's even more exciting and more newsworthy. There is also, every year I think we've seen it where the political noise and the news cycle gets more and more rapid, and the response rate through social media is more and more rapid. So I think there's a lot to consider in terms of where you're putting your money. The budgets are bigger than ever. Um, I mean, and all of that money has to be spent on advertising, getting that message out. So I think the getting the most bang for your buck is going to be important. I think that trying to cut through that noise is important. Your creative is important, but it's also important where your creative lands. And this year, I think we're going to see even more and more exciting uses of um, AI, for instance, in terms of targeting. I think our data is getting better. I think the ability to monitor the data is getting faster and faster. Real-time analytics on even just the monitoring of Twitter response of people to political messaging, and to see where that temperature is and to be able to adjust your political messaging is interesting. And I think it's going to be different. Whereas in the old days, it was very traditional marketing, very traditional mailers, some broadcast TV if you had the budget, and the handshakes at the supermarkets and the diners, and that was pretty much it. So I think we have a huge advantage this year in terms of the technology and our advertising abilities to really reach and target the exact voters that we would need to win a campaign, which I think is really exciting.
So, I guess I'd say one of the, it was definitely in use in 2022, but is probably going to be even more in use in 2024 is connected TV. And where do you see connected TV kind of fitting into the marketing mix for political advertisers in 24? And how that helps as a tactic for them compared to maybe traditional linear TV.
Yeah, I mean, I'll start with saying this. I think that traditional linear TV has its place. I think there's still a group of people, especially the over 55 demographic, who are committed to watching certain shows at certain times on their television set. And I think in terms of the under 55, streaming is where it's at. I think everyone lately is just streaming their shows, streaming their news. And I think to be able to reach those people on connected TV is very exciting. I think we are able to do a mix. I mean, I wouldn't necessarily say don't use linear TV anymore at all. I think to have a good mix of the two allows you to reach that broader audience of linear, which could capture some people that you might not have targeted. That could really capture some of that broader audience that your message might resonate with, and then to be able to really hone in and use that first party data, which would be the voter registration rolls, the past history of people's voting habits, with third-party data, and demographic data, behavioral, psychological data. All of that is so exciting to be able to really target, household use, anything that people are. You can follow what people are interested on their social media and really target those people. So I think that is hugely exciting, and we'll be able to also what I've seen as we've been going down this road of proposals for political campaigns is that the amount of bang for your buck and the amount of penetration onto an audience it's measurable now. We are able to really get a real time idea of how we're getting ROI, which is not always the case in linear. It's kind of like we're taking our best guess and hoping that we're reaching those right people.
Awesome. Um, so also just to talk about the wider marketing mix, do you have like when you're looking at starting a campaign, do you have like a predetermined mix that you like are your go-tos, or do you approach it from like a research to see where the audience is actually at in order of kind of allocating a campaign's dollars?
Yeah, I think it all depends. It depends on you need to know the demographics of your market, of your voter base, and then I think from there you dial down and dig even deeper on, well, where can I penetrate a different niche market potentially that I haven't reached before? Maybe it's voters who haven't come out yet. Why I need to give them a reason to come out, and that I can do very easily and affordably, economically through CTV, where you can really hone in on exactly who you're targeting with which message. So, for instance, you could, very easily target a Latin market in a certain city that makes up part of your congressional base or your gubernatorial base. Based on that kind of specific demographic. So I think those things are interesting. I think once you really dial down, and this is, the campaign manager's jobs have always been to do this kind of research. And at best, it still used to be kind of a little bit of a guess, a little bit of an educated guess. And now with CTV, you're able to seriously dial down and target those people exactly who you need with what messaging you need. And I think that's exciting. I think that's something that I'm recommending to everybody that I'm talking to now. But I don't think you can easily say, it's 2/3 of your budget is CTV and 10% is linear. I think it has to really depend on that market, because there are plenty of markets that are in voter bases that are older. That demographic might really only respond to linear or to direct mail, or to billboards. So you have to kind of have that mix. But I don't think there is any, especially in New Jersey, I don't think there's any voter base that we couldn't find a way to reach with CTV in some way or another. So
Awesome. I guess, also looking at other tactics as well, even outside of like TV and some traditional methods, what would you say, are there any, I believe you brought up like AI. What are some cutting edge things that you're looking at to bring to candidates to kind of shake things up for this election, besides, even outside of the TV space?
yeah, I mean, the AI to me, it's very interesting to me in terms of again, being able to really monitor the news cycle and people's response to that news cycle and be able to target your messaging. I'm a creative, so the creative process is hugely important to me. So I think the days of us having, a campaign sit down and come up with one message about who that candidate is and their family, and that's it, you're done, that's your messaging. I think those days are over. I think it is very much come down to, what's happening in the news. How can we speak to people about exactly what's going on, what's affecting them, and why it's important for them to vote. So the AI capabilities of being able to monitor that data and to find those people and find out who's interested in the topics that are being talked about through their social media or through their buying habits, through a bunch of different ways, is through their donations to nonprofits. We can now access. I think it's hugely interesting in terms of having a politician and a campaign being able to have that agility to really adjust their messaging and to adjust their outreach and do it pretty quickly, and get to those people as quickly as they can.
So we were talking, a little bit before, actually, before we hopped on, about like monitoring and measurement. And that's something that at Strategist, we usually handle, is like being able to measure across connected TV or any tactic that we're using. What do you think though for candidates? I mean, because obviously one of the challenges in political is that you don't typically get to know the results of how the campaign was until election day, right? So whether somebody won or lost the election. So what do you think are like the main things that you need to be looking at leading up to election day to kind of ensure that you're at least on the right track?
I think with the CTV being able to get that real time ROI is important. I think you're going to be able to really look at your voter engagement. I think there's certain ways, QR codes on non-skippable commercials are a great innovation, whether it's just to have a response to a survey or a poll, or whether it's, make a $5 donation to this candidate. All of those things are measurables that can be measured throughout the campaign. We don't have to wait necessarily for election day. And, listen, everybody does polls. Everyone runs their bigger polls. I've yet to see one that was 100% accurate. I'm not a huge believer on we wait to see what the polls say. I'm a huge believer in trying to increase a candidate's brand equity. I think the name recognition is important. In New Jersey, we've had ups and downs this year where the line is going away. So the line used to be the way that kind of the votes went out, and the county's line controlled basically who came out to vote, and voter registration was important. And if you didn't have that voter registration, we really weren't going to win elections. Well, I do have hope, and I really do believe that now with advertising and direct to consumer, I call it direct to consumer, it's really direct to voter advertising that's personalized. It's going to give you a clearer voice, a clearer connection to your voter base. It's going to hopefully change some people's minds and be able for you to adjust quickly. And if you have to change your messaging, if you go out with another commercial, whether or not, a lot of the candidates these days are just filming a selfie on the road as they're going on and speaking to people. Well, those things can go out on a strategic campaign and get out there, and we can measure those results and see how we are connecting with people one-on-one a lot easier than we used to, where we're just kind of throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks and holding our breath till election day.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, this has been a really good conversation, and I think there's a lot to look forward to. We're obviously in the midst of political planning, and once we get to the end of August, it's going to all about execution. So I really appreciate you hopping on today, Jackie, and having the
Yeah.
conversation.
Thank you
And
so much, Gary.
and obviously, we highly value our partnership with you and 43 Oak.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. I just wanted to add one more thing. I think
Sure.
that's another thing for campaign managers or anybody who might be watching this. Another thing that's really important is that, and I know this to be true of 43 Oak, but I've had the opposite experience where you might be doing a media buy and you're buying, second, third, fourth hand media, and the prices you're paying, and you're not getting that penetration. So I think another thing is to really go to the experts who are doing a direct media buy, who are giving you that return immediately, those analytics immediately, and kind of really cutting through a lot of the noise and chatter of what's been going on, and understanding that really penetrating individual voters with a brand of your candidate's brand equity is going to be not only exciting to try to watch us get there, but it's also going to be exciting to see how that penetrates and how we can change elections that way.
Absolutely. Awesome. That's great
Thanks,
insight.
Gary.
Thank you.
Appreciate our partnership as well. Couldn't be doing this without you guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.